Hello and welcome to the European Tour's Life on Tour podcast presented by Hilton with me, Andrew Cotter. In each episode we chat to one of the stars of the game, one of the influencers in golf. And this is a very special episode. We are in a very special place, the Hilton Honors Lounge. We are right beside the second green on the West Course at Wentworth during the first day of the BMW PGA Championship. And what a guest we have as well for this chat. So please welcome to the Hilton Honors Lounge, the Open Champion Shane Lowry is here.
Hello.
Welcome. This is for those who don't know, there are a few claret jugs in existence. There are 5, but this is the claret jug that goes back to Hagen winning in 1928. And you can explain how we know that this is the real claret jug.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Right, fine.
There's a mistake. There's a mistake in 1947. It's Holy Lake instead of High Lake.
There we are.
So yeah, that's how we know. Because when I got it actually on the Sunday evening, Harrington was there and he took it off me. He goes, "Is that the one? Is that the one?" And he had a look and he was like, "It is."
There we are.
So.
And it says for you 2019 at Royal Portrush. So they don't make mistakes anymore. And that man who engraved it in 1947 met an early demise. He didn't. So it just adds to the character of the fact that this is the Open Championship, the real claret jug. Anyway, we'll come to that in a moment. But this is in this podcast, the Life on Tour podcast, presented by Hilton. We go back as well. It's your life in golf. So. Tell us how it started, because you weren't born into particularly a golfing family, were you?
No, I suppose my mum's uncles, or my mum's brothers would have played, my uncles, but not too much like social golf. And where I grew up, the town I grew up in has like a pitch and putt course. So for people that don't really know, in Ireland, pitch and putt is quite a big sport in like small towns and stuff. Like the longest hole will be only 60 yards, and it's kind of 18 holes, par 3 basically, but you carry 2 clubs. And I started playing there when I was about 9, and used to spend all my summers up there. My cousin, who was a couple of years older than me, I used to go up with him, and we go up there all day, every day, and that's kind of where I got my like love for playing golf, and that's where I kind of started to swing the club. And from then, when I was about 12 or 13, there was a new golf course built about 5 miles from our house called Esker Hills, and I joined there.
But sport was in your family because your father, Brendan, was an All-Ireland winning football player.
Irish football. He was, yeah. He
Go awfully.
Go awfully, yeah. We haven't done too much since, but it was back in 1982. There's him and his 2 brothers were on the team. So
the last Offaly team to win the Sam Maguire Cup.
Yes. It was. In Ireland. It's a very famous one because Kerry were going for 5 in a row, which had never been done before, and Offaly stopped them with a famous goal in the last minute. And it's funny, just a week gone by, Dublin have just won 5 in a row for the first time ever. So yeah.
The Dubs.
The Dubs.
Are
yeah.
they the Dubs? I don't know. I'm just making that up.
That's what they are. Yeah.
Oh, they are the Dubs. Good. Yeah. Excellent. Go on the Dubs. But anyway, so when did you realise then? Sport was in your family. You were playing a bit of pitch and putt and joining Esker Hills. So when did you realise that you had a bit of a talent for it?
I suppose my handicap kind of didn't come down loads. It was coming down gradually over the years. And I was 16. I was playing off 4 still, and I was. I wasn't like unbelievably good, but I used to spend a lot of time doing it. And then from when I got to like 17, 18, it was kind of all I wanted to do. And then, I got to scratch, started making the Irish teams and the panels, and started playing, winning the odd tournament, under 18s. And then the year after my 18th birthday, that year was the year kind of where I realised, I suppose, that I was good enough. I started to win tournaments and started making men's squads when I was, 18, 19, and then from there on, I just kind of, because I only say I would only got down to scratch maybe 17 when I was about 17 and a half, and I turned pro probably 3.5 years, 4 years later. So.
But you were coming through at the same time as Rory McIlroy, and sort of since the Open Championship, there's been a revisiting of the story of Pete Cowan going across to, because he was looking at the Irish boys squad. He was asked to come over and cast his expert eye on things, really to look at McIlroy. But you know the quote from Pete, obviously. Yeah,
because Pete always says to me, always texts me if I do well. But Neil, my coach, who is the Irish national coach, Pete came over for a weekend, you know, to have a look at us and give us some lessons or whatever. A lot of short game, and at the end of the week they all asked him, you know, what do you think? There was a guy called Simon Ward who was very good at the time, and they were like, you know, who do you think's good apart from Rory, obviously? And he goes, that little fat lad with glasses is not bad. So that's Pete's. I used to wear glasses when I played back then, but it was. Yeah, so Pete's always, I've known him for a long time, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, at what stage, as you make progress, you won the Irish Amateur in 2007?
Yeah.
So at this stage, are you thinking about golf as a professional career?
Yeah. Oh, by then it was all I wanted to do. I mean, my parents were trying to get me to go to college, and that wasn't happening. And, you know, I just used to, honestly, I just loved playing golf, and it was all I did. I became friendly and met. There was 4 of us who actually ended up, we did go to college in UCD for a year, or we were enrolled for a year anyway, and we went for a couple of months, but and we were members in Portmarnock, luckily enough, and we used to play like all day, every day. That's all we did was play golf, and that's kind of where I got my competitiveness with golf. And, you know, this was probably in 2008, and late 2007, 2008, and then, you know, when Rory turned pro in 2007, I was kind of the #1 amateur in the country, so that's all I wanted to do. I kind of felt like I was good enough as well.
Were you happy that he was taking a lot of the limelight and adding a bit of interest, I suppose, to the amateur scene?
Yeah, the amateur scene back in Ireland back then was unbelievable. I remember playing tournaments, and you'd have like, you might have 1,000 people out watching, you know, walking around, and then when you're, you know, if you have 1,000 people walking the fairways with you, it feels like, you know, 10,000. It felt, you know, felt like a big event. Always felt like big events when Rory played. You know, even from an early age, he always brought a big crowd, and, you know, it was always nice to play in tournaments with him as well.
But did you feel that he was better than everyone else, or did you feel that I can be as good as him?
Rory was always, it always looked like he was better than everyone else.
Really?
He always hit the ball better. He always, you know, he always had that swagger about him as well, and he was always like, you know, he was always the next best thing, like, and it was all like, from when he was, I suppose the first time I would have met him was when he was about 14, and that's when he, you know, even from then.
Yeah, we talk about, you know, prodigious talent, and he never won a European Tour event as an amateur. I mean, you go forward to 2009 Irish Open, and you win in that playoff with Robert Rock. I mean, that was an extraordinary week. Yeah,
I mean, that was. It's funny because that was my first ever event as a pro, or as an amateur in a pro event. I'd never played another pro event before, and I was happy just to be there. I was happy to go up and see all the tour trucks, and, you know, see all the players. I remember walking down the range, like in Westwood there, and Monty and Harrington, and it was like, you know, I was just happy to be there. Like, and then all of a sudden I get off to a good start on Thursday. I shot 5 under, and then I went down and shot 62 on Friday. I was leading by 2 shots going into the weekend, and I was like, from there I felt like I could win it, but there's no way going to that event. I felt like I was going to win, you know. Only the 3rd amateur to win a European Tour event, so my quick question for you is, can you name the other 2? Pablo Martin. Yes. And Danny Lee. Danny Lee, there we are. Yeah. That's why he has all the answers. Pablo Martin in the Estoril Portuguese Open, he said, referring to his notes. And Danny Lee, well, I do know Danny Lee in the 2009 Johnny Walker, yeah.
Johnny Walker, yeah. There we are. I can't stump you at all. So that was straight into the pro ranks after that then? Yeah, I turned pro the week after. I remember Wentworth was the week after when it was in May. But I didn't play, and I played in the London club. The European Open was in the London club the week after that. And that was my first event as a pro, and didn't go too well, but I was on the road. I had like a 2.5-year exemption, which was huge. You know, I felt like I could learn my trade without any worries, which was nice. That's a huge springboard into
absolutely,
yeah. Because a lot of amateurs seem to struggle when they turn pro because of the pressure of being professional. It's entirely different to the amateur game.
Yeah, even you know, me doing what I did, I wasn't making big deals. I made I got a couple of deals and a couple of sponsors, and, you know, I was able to not have to go out and try and make money, and that's kind of, it was nice to just go out there and be able to play golf and learn, like I said, learn my trade. And I remember my first good week, I went to play in Japan. It was the week I signed for Strixon, actually, and I went to play the Dunlop Phoenix. I finished 3rd there, and then I came back out at the start of the following 2010 and finished 4th in Abu Dhabi. And that was kind of, from then on, I felt like I was good enough. You know, to be honest, the first few months as a pro were quite difficult because I was missing cuts, I wasn't playing well, and you start to question yourself, you know. But after those few good weeks, I kind of, you know, started to feel good enough, and I had an okay season in 2010 then.
Yeah, and then in 2012 you win the Portugal Masters, first win as a pro, so then is that an entirely different feeling to winning the Irish as an amateur? Is this more sort of relief that you've done it as a professional?
I suppose it was, because look, I had been having like, I think I'd finished like, I had a decent year in 2010, I finished like 60 something in the Order of Merit, which was okay for my first full season. And then the following year I made the race to Dubai, which I was happy enough with. And then the following year I won in 2012. So it was, yeah, but it was kind of like a monkey off my back, you know. Because around that time, you know, GMAC was winning majors, Clara was winning majors, Rory was winning majors, Porrick had just won his majors, and everyone back home was like, all they're asking is when you're going to win a major, and I'm like, I can't even get into them now, right? You know, so it was kind of people in Ireland have very high expectations of us, you know, so it was kind of, they were waiting for me to win as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, just a reminder, you're listening to the Life on Tour podcast presented by Hilton with me, Andrew Cotter, right beside the second green on the west course at Wentworth with Shane Lowry, with the Claret jug. We've got some questions actually from Hilton Honors guests, which we'll come to in a moment, but we'll skirt forward to, I suppose, the biggest success you had before the Open Championship, winning the WGC in Akron in 2015. To win on that kind of course in the States, they don't take notice of you in the States until you win over there, do they?
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, I mean, they don't really. You go over there, especially like I've gone over there in the past, and you play on invites and stuff. And when you go over there playing an invite, you get the worst tee time. You get like, you know, it's kind of
sweeping up with the bins.
Yeah, you're taking the flags in. You're not. Not that I'm saying you're not looked after, because it's the PGA Tour and you are, but you know, I struggled a little bit. I played some invites, but to win over there on that course, the first time I went to that course was just a few months after my Irish Open win in 2009, and I shot 20 over for 4 rounds. So
I thought I would say, what was the second?
If you had told me, if you had told me I would have won around there, I would have laughed at you then. But obviously went back in 2015 and I won around there, and that was huge. That was obviously my biggest win, and it gave me an exemption in Europe and on the PGA Tour, which was nice as well.
And then Oakmont for the US Open, going into the final round by 4 shots. That must have been, I don't know, a chastening experience. What did you take from that?
That was very difficult to get over. It took me a long time to get over that. I felt like I could, when I played the golf of my life for 3 rounds and I was 4 ahead going into the final round, I really felt like I handed that one to Dustin Johnson. I felt like I played all right, but I just didn't fight hard enough, and I just didn't do it when I needed to.
And was it just nerves in that final round of the major?
Somewhat, but I think the whole thing, maybe it just got to me. Like, there's a whole like series of events that week. You know, I played 32 holes on the Saturday in 100 degrees. You know, and then I went back out Sunday morning at 7 o'clock. I was up at 4:30 to finish, and then I wasn't teeing off till 3:30, and it was just kind of. Like, I'm not making excuses, but I am. But it's kind of, you know, there's a whole series of events, and the last 5 holes, I threw it away, and that was maybe, you know, but I think I learned a lot then that helped me, obviously, a few weeks ago.
But it's amazing the sort of journey from there that led to the Open Championship, because, you know, if you thought the final round of the US Open, that wasn't bottom, because you had a tough time after that. And was that because you were trying to stretch yourself over 2 tours? 2
tours, yeah. It's incredibly difficult to play 2 tours, and after that US Open, I kind of lost form. I didn't play well. I lost my card in America then last year, and I suppose I just wasn't happy the way I was playing, and I don't know, it was what it's down to. I suppose when you're playing both tours, you need to really perform in the big events, and I wasn't performing in the big events, and then my world ranking was dropping, so I wasn't getting into the big events. So that even puts more pressure on you when you're playing in the other events in the States. Because, like, you know, Jordan Spieth, Patrick Reed, these guys are playing 30 events a year, and I'm out there trying to compete against them playing 15. So it's quite difficult when you're doing that. But you know, I learned a lot over those few years. You know, when you're having bad days like that, and look, I was in a bit of a slump. It wasn't too much of a slump. I was still finishing top 30, top 20 in the European and the race to Dubai. Like, it's not like it was like good seasons for other people, but not what I expected myself, you know. And but over those couple of years, I did learn a lot about myself, and when you are successful after that, it really, you know, it makes it even sweeter, I suppose.
So Carnoustie a year ago, or just over a year ago now, that was painted as a low point. Was that a low point for you? It
probably was one of the lowest points. Like, it was, you know, but the only reason it was one of the lowest points because I ended up finishing my caddy, who was we were together for 9 years and we were very friendly or whatever. And
you've said that you regret that it happened.
I do regret the way it happened. Like, we finished after the first round and my coach caddied the second round, and it was kind of all a bit like.
Was it desperation, a sort of thing?
Yeah, I was, you know, I don't know what it was. I felt like I needed a change and I didn't know what it was, and this was the only thing I could do. Do you know what I mean? So it happened. I regret that it happened, but you know, it happened, and we still get on. We still get on all right anyway. And but after that, it seemed like my brother caddied for me then for the next 4 weeks. We went off to we played in Canada, in Reno, and then we played in the PGA, and we a few good weeks. Like I did quite well, and that's kind of where I feel like I got my form back.
And you got together with Bo. Was it a beard connection? Did he have the beard connection?
Yeah, chubby fella with a beard.
He was a decent player. There was, you know, club champion at Ardglass.
Bo played for Ireland, played underage for Ireland.
I've undersold him just saying club champion at Ardglass.
So he was a handy player, and yeah, look, I've known Bo for years, and he was the only person I could think of at the time.
There we go.
That sounds really bad.
If you're listening, Bo,
he was the first person that came to my mind, because he was like, he wasn't working. Well, he was working, but he was working in like an office job back home, and he wasn't caddying. And I just rang him up, and we went and we met for a coffee, and yeah, he started then, and he's very happy-go-lucky. We have a good laugh together, and he's a great person. So
that's what you need. So things did turn around. I mean, I suppose Abu Dhabi at the start of the year, was that really sort of vindication that things were going in the right direction with a victory there? Yeah, I felt like I played okay towards the end of last year, and I was happy enough. And then I went to Abu Dhabi this year, and first tournament of the year after 6 or 7 weeks off, you're not really sure what's going to happen. And I went out in the first round and shot 10 under, so I was like, oh, this is all right. And I managed to, you know, win the tournament from there, which was good. And it was, you know, I was 4 ahead going into the final round of that as well. And I got caught. I went to 4 behind and won it from there. So it was a roller coaster of a day, but it gave me huge satisfaction to win that, because I think if I hadn't have won that, it kind of would have brought back up all the bad memories of Oakmont and all that stuff, and to go ahead and win that then, and I kind of feel like I kicked on then for the rest of the year. Well, didn't you just? Let's go to Portrush then. Did that week feel good from the start? And again, I want to almost contrast it with someone like Rory, who comes in there with all that pressure, said he felt nerves like he'd never felt before on the first tee. How did you feel?
Like, I felt, I went up a few weeks previous and played, just myself and my coach, and Bo actually played as well. So the 3 of us played around, and it was a lovely day. It was a day like today, and then I did that so I didn't have to go up too early the week. I think I went up, I can't remember, I drove up Monday evening, and I was able to go. I went out there to practice on Tuesday, and you know, I felt like I could go under the radar that week. I felt like all the pressure was going to be on Rory, G-Mac, you know, even Porrick to an extent, you know. He's won 2 Opens before, Darren Clark obviously. So I felt like I could go up there and just go about my business and just do my thing. And then, but I didn't know how things were going to go. Like, I was just trying to prepare my best and see how it played out, and thankfully it played out well. You know, I started off quite well on Thursday. But on Thursday, like, I'll say about Rory's opening tee shot or whatever, and there was a lot made about that. It's probably the most nervous I've ever been on the first tee of a tournament. And
why is that? Because
I have no idea. It's a very difficult tee shot for a start. Out of bounds, right and left, is just intimidating, you know. And even though you're only hitting an iron, it's quite windy, and if you get it a little bit off, you know, whatever. But yeah, I was very happy to get that first tee shot away, and I kind of kicked on from there.
Yeah, you were trying to sneak under a radar, but you were just this enormous flash on the radar afterwards. Yeah. Wow. I mean, Saturday was extraordinary as well, because it felt like Saturday night felt like Sunday at the major.
Yeah, and you talk to anybody that was with me that week, like friends or, you know, my coach and manager and stuff, and they were scared Saturday night that, like that, it felt like Sunday night, it felt like it was over, but it obviously wasn't. And but being honest, like, I got in a place that week in Portrush that I've never been in, like, and Saturday I just felt like I was going to birdie every hole, especially the back nine. And then even Sunday morning, like, a lot of things happen, and I think back on going, God, if that happened, like, you know, a different time, I wouldn't be happy with that. Like, even there's things like, you know, my mum texts me Saturday evening and she's like, do you mind if I come up tomorrow? Oh. And I'm like, I didn't, but I know me in the past would have been like, no chance, we're tempting fate here. Do you know what I mean? I would have been like that. You know, if I win, I'll come down and see you, don't worry. That's kind of the way I would have went about it. And even like Bo had his, he just had a baby 2 weeks before the Open, and his wife and baby drove up that morning as well, and they were in the clubhouse. And I was thinking back on it, I was like, I was obviously just in such a good place mentally and felt so comfortable that none of this bothered me. Do you know what I mean? None of the outside distractions kind of that would have bothered me in the past didn't bother me that week.
I mean, we watched even the first hole though, because you go out with that lead and the conditions aren't great as well, and you're playing with Tommy Fleetwood, and for a moment it looked as if there was going to be a 2-shot, perhaps even a 3-shot swing on the first. So how did you feel at that moment? Not great. I
was very nervous in the first tee, obviously. Like, the whole morning I struggled to eat breakfast. I barely ate any breakfast. Didn't have lunch. I think I had 2 protein bars on the course. That was it. Like, that's all I had all day. I just wasn't able to. Bo kept on telling me on the course, he's like, you need to eat something. I'm like, I can't. I'm sick. Like, I was like physically sick. And so yeah, the first hole, incredibly nervous. I hit a ropey enough tee shot. Felt like I hit a decent second shot, but ended up in an awful spot in that bunker, like the only place you couldn't hit it. And then Tommy hit 2 great shots, and yeah, look, we're standing on the green. The two of us have about 8 feet. He's got about, you know, 8, 9 feet. I've got like 6 or 7 feet, and that's the tournament right there. I feel anyway. Like, you know, if he had a hole and I missed, would I have went on to win it? I'm not sure. Maybe I would have, but it was just like, that was huge. That was, people don't understand how big that was. That was like.
Well, it looked as if it settled you down, but also knocked him back a little bit.
I went on to the second tee feeling like I had picked up a shot. Right. That's kind of how I felt. It's almost one of those where you go and you take the honour, and he says, oh, it's my honour. You're like, oh, sorry, I felt like I won that one.
Yeah, it was a good bogey.
Yeah.
But again, did the weather help you? Did you feel comfortable in those conditions?
I was nervous that morning about the forecast, because in those conditions you can shoot 5 or 6 over easy enough. So therefore, it would take someone to shoot 1 or 2 under to beat you. But there were certain guys, like, there was only a small number of guys who could actually catch me that day, unless I obviously shot 80. Like, you know, I felt like if I went out on Sunday and made 4 birdies, that I would win the tournament. That's kind of how I felt. And I feel, looking back on Oakmont, that's what I learned at Oakmont. I felt if I went out on Sunday at Oakmont and tried to make 4 birdies, I possibly would have won that. I didn't go out and play aggressive enough. Whereas on Sunday at Portrush, obviously the conditions were quite tough, and it's not a day for aggressive golf, but I did feel like if I went out and made 4 birdies that I could win.
There was one at the 15th. Did that, I mean, and be honest here, people say, oh, I didn't feel I got it done until the last hole, but was there a point earlier in the round where you thought, I think I've got this now, if I just play it cannily, I think it's in the bag?
I just kept on, because I was like 4 ahead and 5 ahead, and then I went to 6 ahead, and then, you know, clawed a couple back, Tommy did, and I remember I was trying to get to a stage where I was the same amount ahead as number of holes left, like, you know, 4 ahead with 4 to play or whatever, and when Tommy doubled 14 and I bogeyed 14, I picked up a shot and I'm there to go 5 ahead with 4 to play. I felt like, right, you're going into Van de Velde territory here if you mess it up from here, and it's kind of
positive thinking, like it.
I hit my tee shot on 15, and then obviously I birdied that, but I wasn't too comfortable, you know. I still was feeling the pressure, you know, and obviously made a great par in 16. Like, I hold like a 4 or 5 footer down the hill there for par, and I felt like, you know, even that's a big putt. But the 17 tee shot I hated all week. I hated it, like, didn't like it, because you can't really see where you're going. And as soon as I hit that tee shot, I was like, right, that's it. I can kick it in from here and enjoy it.
Well, some people say, people who won the Open say, I couldn't really enjoy the walk up the last because I was only 1 ahead or level or whatever it might have been. But you had that lead, so was that just total joy walking up the 18th?
It was incredible. It was the one thing I've said afterwards. I just feel incredibly lucky that I got to live something like that and be able to achieve something like that, because looking back on the videos and pictures of it, it's just like I can't remember doing it. You know what I mean? It happened, and going down 18, I just didn't know what to do with myself. I just kind of, what do I do here? And it's kind of, it was just obviously the one thing I have now. Obviously, you've got videos and pictures and all you look back on. It's incredible. Like I said, I feel incredibly lucky.
And the family's there. I mean, we were doing a lot of commentary on Brendan Lowry and going into details of the 1982 County Offaly win. But he was there. Everyone, as you say, your mother came up. Your wife Wendy was there. So to have them there on the 18th, just explain. I mean, I suppose it's all a bit of a blur, but
it is a bit of a blur. But when I look back on it and I see there was like a good group of people behind the 18th green in that tunnel, and even from like obviously my mum and dad, my sister, my brother, Wendy, Iris, Neil, my coach, Connor, my manager, Brian, who works for him, is a really good friend of mine. Even from like GMAC was there, Harrington was there. There's everybody who was there has had an influence on my career, and I feel like everybody was there that would have wanted to be there. And it was that was the most incredible thing about it, to be able to like share that with everyone. Was like I remember before I hit my second shot in 18, I kind of turned the corner and I had a look and I seen Iris was wearing like a yellow jacket, and I just seen her, and then I started to cry. Like I started to kind of well up, and Bo's gave me a bit of a kick in the arse, and he was like, "You need to hit a shot here, so come on, just hit this and we can."
You've got to eat a protein bar as well.
Yeah. So it was really nice. It was lovely.
Yeah, I've never seen such sort of celebratory interviews afterwards with the crowd, because it felt almost Ryder Cup-esque in terms of the feel of it. But the support you had was extraordinary. Northern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, it didn't seem to matter at all.
No, it didn't matter that day. It was incredible. Like I'm sure, like the majority of people out there. There was one fella I could hear the whole day shouting, "Come on, Tommy!" That was it. That was the only person I could hear. It was mostly most people were shouting for me, but it was incredible to be able to do what I did and do it, up in Portrush, and just the celebrations and the singing and whatever. It was just it was cool.
You play around with Tommy's caddy recently, Ian Finnis?
I did, yeah. I played golf in Portugal last Wednesday with him.
What was the chat then?
It's grand. Like I get on well with. Like Tommy's one of the nicest lads on tour, and Finno, his caddy's a great lad too. So I seen he was on holiday and we had a spare slot in our 4-ball. So I asked him, "Do you want to come and play?" And yeah, we were having a chat and we talked about with the other lads that were playing. They were obviously asking questions, and Finno was openly talking about the first hole was obviously huge, and the 10th hole that day was huge. I holed like a 4-footer and Tommy missed, and points like that we were talking about it.
Right, we're going to move to our first question then from our Hilton Honors guests. So they're written down little cards here, no name here, so I'm just going to say this is from Alan. So from Alan, how did you? I mean, it's a simple question, but I think it's going to be a good answer. How did you celebrate your Open win? I mean, what were the immediate? What was the day afterwards like?
I think people seen. It's a problem with social media now. Everybody's seeing it all, but it was I finished. I had a lot of media to do afterwards, and I left the golf club maybe just before 9, and we went back to the house we were staying in and got all our stuff, because I really wanted to go home to Dublin, to my house in Dublin, and wake up there on the Monday morning. It's a long drive, but we got back down there about 1 o'clock, and I've got a very good friend who owns quite a few bars in Dublin, and he organised a party for us.
Right.
So
was it in any way like the film The Hangover? You wake up with a tiger?
No, do you know what I woke up with this beside me. But,
okay.
I was to be honest, we had a great time. And everybody was there. My family actually, like my parents and my uncles and aunts and all, none of them were there. They all went back home to where we're from. That's about an hour from Dublin, and. But all my friends that live in Dublin, and Wendy's family were there, her sisters, and it was we just had a great time. We left there at like 6:30, 7 in the morning. It was just, and then we were up fairly quickly the following day. We were at it again quickly the following day, which was nice.
I don't know, kids today.
That's what Irish people do.
This was nothing to do with the Open Championship win. This was a normal day, right?
Gaelic, like if you go say like Gaelic football teams, or you know, if anybody wins something like that in Ireland, it's always about the Monday and Tuesday afterwards. So.
Yeah. What about all the Mondays and Tuesdays to come, though? Because I know you love reflecting in the Open Championship, but you want to move on and almost put this behind you and enjoy it for what it was, but somehow move on. And it's difficult in a way because of all the demands. You know, we're talking to you here, and more people are talking to you.
It is. It's a little bit more difficult, but it's good problems to have. Like I came here this week, and normally like a week for me, I'd be able to arrive in, I'd be able to do my own thing. Hardly anybody would want to speak to you. You know, a week like this, you might have a couple of Irish lads. That would be it. And you know, this week I've got like a full itinerary of stuff to do. I've got to really, like, I think going forward, like, I have to manage my time a little bit better. When I come to the golf course, like I love life on tour. Like, I love, you know, coming in and meeting all the lads that, you know, I'd be friendly when we sit down and have a coffee in the players' lounge, and then before you know it, you're in there an hour. But like, you can't really do that anymore because all your time that you're at the course is, you know, accounted for. So, but it's nice to be, like you said, I really want to put it behind me. Not put behind me because that's not the right way to say it, but I want to move on and I want to shoot good scores and I want to play well in tournaments. And but this week it was funny because I haven't seen anyone on the European Tour really since I won, and just seeing everyone was pretty cool. But everybody is kind of bringing it back up, and I just kind of want to get on with my golf and try and shoot the best scores I can here this week.
Okay, well, let's move on. Then we've got another question from Hilton. Again, no name. I'm going to say this is from Susan. Susan knows Alan, doesn't know that Alan is secretly in love with her. Anyway, I don't know what I'm doing. Right, so where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? I mean, on that theme, goals? I don't know what you would like to achieve now.
My main goal for the next 12 months is to make the next Ryder Cup team. That's kind of, I've said it all along. I've said it even before. I said at the start of this year, it's kind of my main goal from the start of this year was to make the next Ryder Cup team, and that's where I see myself. After that, I don't know. Like, I've got my card in the PGA Tour for the next 5 years, so I'll be giving that a bit of a go, and you know, playing in Europe whenever I can and trying to do as well as I can. But hopefully, just trying to win more tournaments and enjoy it along the way. And
when you have those exemptions again, you're splitting your time between both sides of the Atlantic.
Yeah, I do, and like we've got a 2.5-year-old, so we're lucky we're able to. We rent a house in Florida for 4 months, you know, from February to May, and we go down there and spend time down there, so it's nice to be able to do that.
Final question then. Ask people to put their names on. I'm reading it. Sorry, this is from Nathaniel. Who would be your dream playing partner at the Ryder Cup then? On that, so there you go. You're in the team, but who would you like to play with?
I'd be happy playing with anyone. I think. Just happy if I'm on the team, but I'd like to play with. Might be a bit controversial, splitting up Tommy and Frankie, but I think I'd like to play with Tommy. I think myself and Rory could do all right together as well.
Okay.
So I don't know, but I'm happy if I'm there.
We can make that happen. I'm not sure how, but anyway, right. If I could offer you another major, which major would it be?
No question. I'd give anything. Like, I'd love to win the Masters. I think no Irishman's ever done it, so to be the first Irishman to wear the green jacket.
A green jacket as well would look kind of fitting. Right, we're just about at an end. Beard. What's the future of the beard? Because I've heard various things.
No, it needs a trim actually. I didn't get time last week.
No, it's not look smart, but I hear that Wendy, your wife, is a big fan of the beard, so that's why it's staying.
Yeah, I've no choice really.
Is this in any way true?
Yeah, if I go, like, I sometimes like to get like a 2 or 3 blade on it and get it short, and she gives out to me. It's probably because she's able to see me, see what I look like.
Well, that's kind of your signature. I mean, it helps people recognise you as well.
Yeah, I'm more recognisable with the beard, which is not a good thing now.
Do you enjoy the attention? Because you can't escape now, especially at golf tournaments. People will be flocking around you.
Not that I don't not enjoy. I don't mind it. I think it's, it comes with the territory. I feel like even before the Open, but since the Open, I feel like I've taken it all in my stride pretty well, and I get on with things.
Okay, excellent. We've got the Hilton Quick 9 questions. Every guest we have on the Life on Tour podcast presented by Hilton, we ask the Hilton Quick 9. So the first thing that comes into your head, such as word association, this is a psychological test for you. So number 1, first thing in your suitcase. Quick 9's going well. Clothes.
My golf clothes.
Right, excellent. Right. Question 2, favourite club in the bag.
My driver.
Question 3, where was your last holiday?
Portugal.
Portugal, playing with Finno. Question 4, favourite hole in all of golf?
That's it.
It's impossible to answer. 18th at Portrush.
Yeah, something in Portrush. I forgot about Portrush actually. One of the holes in Portrush.
It's a head scratcher. What happened there? Question 5, one place on your bucket list that you haven't been?
I'm really bad at this.
We are discovering that. Where would you like to go?
New Zealand. I've never been to New Zealand. I'd like to go. It's too far away though, but I'd like to go.
Yeah, well, it's not that. Come on now. A few people have said New Zealand actually. Right, best shot you've ever hit. Question 6.
The 3-wood tie at 18th in Abu Dhabi this year.
Oh, great shot. Right, question 7. If you weren't a golfer, what would you be?
Broke.
Yeah. Question 8. Gaelic football, hurling, rugby, or football?
Gaelic football.
Gaelic football, all the way. Go on. What are they, Awfully? What's their nickname, Awfully?
Awfully.
Just Awfully. They haven't got a nickname.
Oh, they do? Well, it's a bit of a...
Is it rude? Is it a rude
no,
nickname?
No.
Is it just
we're called the Faithful.
The Faithful?
That's what we're called.
Ah, go on the Faithful. Go on the Faithful. We're doing
That's
accents.
how you say it,
Terrible accents. Right, and question 9, finally, who would make up your dream 4-ball, in brackets, morbidly dead or alive? Who would you like to play 4-ball?
Tiger.
Yeah.
And then I'd love to, like, Arnie and Jack.
Oh, Arnie, Jack.
If they were at their prime, I'd love to see how good everyone was, you know.
You could beat them all.
Oh. I'm not sure about that.
All right, actually, too modest. Ladies and gentlemen, here, live in the Hilton Honors Lounge, beside the second green at Winworth. Thank you very much indeed to Shane Lowry.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So there we are, for all the podcast listeners at home, thank you for listening. We'll be back with the Life on Tour podcast, presented by Hilton, but for now, bye-bye.
To watch another European Tour video, click here, and to subscribe, click here.